ask you to hit record a little. All right, welcome
This
everybody.
meeting is being recorded.
It is being recorded. Welcome everyone, stick around. You may want to mute so that we don't hear anything you don't want us to hear this morning. That's my kind gesture. Save you all. I am looking forward to this masterclass. Welcome if you're new to Inspired Results Group. This is our hour to be with one another in conversations about topics maybe that are on my mind for sure, and also I think topics that are kind of out there, and I want to create spaces for us to have conversations about the topics that are going on that we may not create the space to explore. Masterclass is an absolutely ironic title. There is no master in this. There are multiple masters in everyone. I just liked the alliteration of monthly masterclass, but it makes me laugh every month because I am definitely not showing up as an expert, particularly today. So let's just get settled in and acknowledge I'm arriving and Carmen is with me from Inspired Results Group, and we are both very grateful to live, work, and learn here in the unceded Coast Salish territory of Algonquin and Wasanich nations. Many of you roll with me regularly in Zoom, and you know how much I love the words and wisdom of Richard Wagamese. So my reading from Richard's Embers is just about, the intention is to bring in some Indigenous wisdom, some ways of being that I think really serve us. And so I have a reading today that I know will serve me, and I wanted to share it with all of you. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and let these words ground you into yourself and into the space that we're joining. Nothing ever comes to rest. Everything keeps moving. Even stationary objects are moving, though we do not see it. Change is constant, and that means that we are not the same from one moment to another either. Our cells are constantly in the process of changing. So if I am moving through a tough situation, there is no point trying to find rest so that I can cope. That is impossible. Instead, I choose to change trajectory to move in a direction that will move me toward peace. That is always attainable. Wow, I wasn't expecting the emotions that came up as I shared that. And I think the emotions that are present for me today are a little bit of trepidation and sadness because my 20-year-old leaves for France tomorrow for 3 months. So wow, that emotion's present for me. And the other emotion that's present for me right now is excitement, because I got a lot of clarity in the last few days about some things I want to do with Inspired Results Group and create for all of you. So sadness and clarity are the emotions. I don't even know if clarity is an emotion. Maybe lightness is the emotion. Can you check in with yourself? You know, how are you arriving this morning? What emotions are present for you? And can you drop them into the chat? Let's see where people are at. And I'm just going to grab some Kleenex because I'm, yeah, wow. Now let's see where everyone else is at. Anxiety and empathy, nice. Hopeful and hesitant. Oh, I like alliteration. Thank you, everyone. Keep them coming. Beautiful. Beautiful. Welcome, Janine. Anxious and tired. Yeah. Calm and frustrated. I love the 2-word check-in for so many reasons. And one, I think, is that interesting experience we're all having of holding emotions that just feel so different or paradoxical. And that's part of being human. We can hold those paradoxes emotionally and just accept them. Just accept them and let them in. And this is something I'm really working on is for myself, and to bring into spaces like this is that emotional literacy, that ability for us to name our emotions. And certainly Atlas of the Heart is the toolbox, the toolkit right now for me to be able to expand my repertoire of labeling emotions. Oh, Leanne, I see you. Yeah, thank you everyone for bringing your truth right out of the gate. Appreciate that. And welcome to those of you that are new. I love when the Masterclass brings new people into the Inspired Results community. I always forget to introduce myself in case that's helpful. I'm Diane. I founded Inspired Results Group 10 years ago, and maybe it's 11. It's getting close to 11. And I am really passionate about developing human-centered leadership. And I'm starting to get really clear about that. So, Learning Lab, we wanted to create a space to learn together, to grow, to experiment. It's my place to experiment and do that in a container that feels safe. I want to engage it with you. I want you to engage with each other. I think that is the greatest gift of the Masterclass, is the opportunity to connect with other incredible people who share some values and aspirations around what the world could look like with human-centered leadership leading the way. So the way we roll here is to create a space for you to connect with yourself and with each other. So limiting distractions, do what you can to be really present to yourself. You've chosen this hour, step into this hour as fully as you're able to. We love it if we can see you. And if Wi-Fi is wobbly, as it is for Janine, feel free to keep the cameras off and stay muted just for your own benefit until you get into those small conversations. We are recording, and people do actually watch the recordings, which is amazing. My favorite Zoom tip, if you haven't discovered Hide Self View, you can find that in your window, the 3 white dots. There's a Hide Self View feature. So you can hide yourself and we get to see you, but you don't have that dissonance of looking at yourself all day. No mentee today. I want you to feel free to share your thoughts and insights. I'll do my best to observe the chat. And if you have a question or a comment, something to share, which I so value, feel free to use either the hand up with the reactions. And I'm also cool if you just unmute and jump on in with your voice, because we may not catch you. Let's stay curious, open, and see what we can learn today. So here's where I wanted to start. I was curious what the headline, are you leading with kindness, what that meant for all of you. You chose to arrive here. You may be thinking about, what does kindness look like as a leader? So I wanted to ask you these 2 questions, and we're going to move you into breakout rooms right away, changing the flow a little bit from how we typically navigate the masterclass, because I want you to connect to this concept of kindness. Do you consider yourself to be a kind leader? I'm going to guess most of us think we are. So what does being kind mean? What does that look like in action? Can you unpack that a little bit with your group? Just really get connected to what it means to be kind. So Carmen, Carmen's going to manage the breakout rooms for us. You're going to be in groups with 3 to 4 people, get to meet some amazing people. And we're going to drop into these breakout rooms for just 8 minutes the first time. We're going to then come back, explore some content, and then go back in and unpack further. So enjoy connecting around these 2 questions. Absolutely. Welcome back, Pam.
Hi.
Welcome back. We'll just hold tight while the rooms close out here. All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for letting me pop into your room. I said to Carmen, I forgot to tell them that I'm going to pop into rooms just to be a listener and soak up the conversation. So without warning, thank you for just actually, what I appreciate is that you didn't stop and interrupt the conversation, which is always my worry when I pop in. I want you to stay in the flow. So
you're always welcome, Diane.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And I may do it again, because I said to Carmen, it was also so great for me just to hear so that I can kind of respond and integrate what I'm hearing in where we're going to go next. So you had a great conversation. Can you open up the chat? I would be curious just to hear or see your words around one line. What did you take away from that conversation about being a kind leader? What's a word or a sentence or a phrase sort of captures your takeaway from that conversation? Let's see what range of takeaways come up. Overthink. Okay, interesting. Overdone. Wonderful. Thank you for dropping those in. I am super curious to keep unpacking this concept of kindness and what it means. Okay. Yeah. And some of the, what's some of the old conditioning around leaders being kind? Like that somehow that's not strong or not effective or not masculine enough. There's some good stuff there. So, okay, I'm going to share a wee bit of content, and then I want to take you back into conversations. We'll mix up the rooms to then sort of unpack, any new insights that are coming up for you around how you want to embody being a kind leader, and maybe an added, or maybe an affirmed definition of that for you. So this is the quote from Dare to Lead that probably makes me the most uncomfortable right from the first time I read it. It's like, well, what does that mean? And it made me uncomfortable because I think I recognized that being clear as a leader is not a strength of mine. I know it's not a strength of mine. And I've really come to learn more about myself to be more self-compassionate, because being clear doesn't come easily for me, which is interesting and challenging. So the other reason I'm bringing this forward is because when I was doing some research on burnout, I wanted to make sure I shared this book with you, Well-Being at Work. It's from the Gallup organization. It's actually a very easy read. Gallup does a good job of making their literature and their research pretty easy to consume. So while I was getting curious about what's contributing to burnout, this statistic came forward and it blew my mind that globally, 1 in 2 employees know what is expected of them at work. 1 in 2, which means 50% of people do not know what's expected of them at work worldwide. Half of us are walking around unclear about what's expected. And so here's the burnout connection, is that those who report unclear expectations at work also report highly daily worry, stress, anxiety, and loneliness. This is pre-pandemic data. I can only imagine this has not improved a whole lot over the last 2 years. So we can just all sit in the discomfort of this and recognizing how we're part of it, how we're contributing to it, where we might be clear. I also think this isn't an all in or all out. There's aspects in our roles where we may be clear, aspects in our roles where we're unclear. So I'd like you to actually navigate the next few minutes thinking about you as an employee or a team member. So not you as a leader. We're going to transition to that, but I want you to take this in for a moment on you as an employee or you as a team member. Where are you feeling a lack of clarity? And how is that lack of clarity around what's expected contributing to your stress, your overwhelm? Where I go with this and thinking about my career as an employee and member of a team, member of an organization, even in my own little reality that I've created, when expectations weren't clear, I would just hustle on everything, hoping that I'd meet the mark. That if I just overproduced, worked, way longer hours, I worked harder, that somehow my hustle would demonstrate my intention to meet expectations. Because I was I think, too afraid to ask the questions, too afraid to get clear, ask questions about clarity. So I would avoid the discomfort of asking the questions and instead just work myself way too hard. Way too hard. I'm curious if that's, just open up the chat. Yes or no, is this concept resonating? Yes or no? Just drop that into the chat. I can get a little bit of real time data. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I want to make sure I'm not way off base. I think we're on the same path. So what I want to share with you is actually a framework that I have built into my brand new favorite program, which is the Courageous Coaching for Leaders program. And the reason I've brought this into the coaching is because for years I've been sharing coaching skills with leaders and managers, and I love that. And what I was sharing or teaching was how to have that coaching conversation. And I was really clear on that. That was easy. I know how to support managers to build skills around those conversations. And I always felt there was something missing in terms of being a coaching leader. Like, I'm an external coach. It's very different for me. Internal managers, leaders who are coaching on the ground, my instincts kept saying, this is in the last couple of years, Diane, these leaders need a context for the coaching. They need to get clear at the front end with employees, and then coach in the middle to help them achieve the results, the outcome. So instinctively, I felt like my model is missing something, like I need to bring in something else. And then when I read that statistic about 50% of people aren't clear about expectations, it felt like this big aha moment of, that's it. That's what's missing in a coaching model for leaders, is that clarity conversation. We need to spend way more time with people getting clear on a whole bunch of things. And I'm going to share 4 categories with you of conversations we need to have for ourselves as employees and as leaders. So still sit in the I'm an employee experience right now. And I want to share 4 clarity conversations that you may want to have with your leader, with your supervisor. So the first clarity conversation I think we need to have is getting clear on goals. And I actually have my own resistance to the word goals. My favorite way to come at this question is, what does success look like at the end of the year? Or what do you want to celebrate about your role at the end of the year? Or what do we want to celebrate as a team at the end of the year? Celebration kind of lifts everybody into that aspirational energy. So I know that this is a conversation that I need to have internally with Inspired Results Group, our team is growing. Carmen's new to the team, and we haven't had these conversations to get really clear on what success looks like for IRG at the end of 2022. So this is something we're working on, and I do this with coaching clients all the time. We spend our first conversation getting clear on what success looks like. And I actually had this awesome experience a couple of weeks ago with a client, and we were looking at their goals, after working together for a year. And he was just so delighted when we went back to the goals and looked at them. He said, I can't believe it. It was like, holy shit, this actually worked, Diane. Like, we set goals. We had conversations throughout the year to move me forward. And he said, I never thought we would have achieved what we mapped out. And it was, I think, about 8 months. We had about an 8-month runway. So this really works. And I'm giggling nervously because, like, yeah, and I need to do this for my own organization, not just do this with my clients. So how can you get clear with your supervisor on what success looks like for you, for the team? What are the 3 to 5, success statements or celebration statements that you want to create so that you know where you're going, and then you can celebrate when you get there? I'm going to share all 4, and then I'll take a breath and kind of check in if there's any questions. Here's the second type of clarity conversation we need to have. And this one is kind of the all-encompassing gray zone. Getting clear on expectations. So eliminating assumptions and confusion. Clear expectations can look like a whole bunch of things. It can look like, the values in the organization and how you behave in alignment with the values that the organization has decided are important. A very simple example of this came up the other day. Our team we're going to do SDI, which is an assessment tool we work with, and our coach Adele Fraser is going to take our team through the SDI workshop. And so she asked me the other day, she said, Diane, I just want to check in. What expectations do you have for this workshop? Which is her trying to surface expectations I'm holding that I haven't communicated. And it was such a great question, because I was able to think, yeah, what are the expectations that I'm holding for this workshop that I haven't gotten clear on for myself, and I certainly haven't communicated to her or the team. So that one question, Diane, what expectations do you have for the SDI workshop, allowed me to get clear. And I said, actually, I think I have 3. First expectation is that individually, each of us are going to get to understand ourselves more deeply. So self-awareness is one expectation. So the second expectation I have is that we will learn how to work together more effectively. And I said, oh, and there's a third expectation that I didn't realize I was holding, which is that as a team, we're going to experience this workshop, which means each of us will be able to share with clients what this experience is like and how it benefits teams. So there was this under the surface expectation that everyone on the team would be able to describe and communicate this experience to potential clients. I didn't even know I was holding that expectation, but one question pulled that out of me. So that was a really, real-time example. And I thought, yeah, how many times are leaders holding expectations that they don't communicate? They don't even maybe realize they're holding those expectations. Expectations can be about showing up on time at meetings, about compassion in the workplace, empathy in the workplace, all kinds of things is where expectations live. So when we get curious, when we ask more questions and we get brave enough to ask the questions, I think we can eliminate so many assumptions. Expectations comes up in, I have a client I've worked with for a while who struggles because the team doesn't turn their cameras on in online meetings, like meetings with 4 or 5 people. They're keeping their cameras off. Um, how can we be clear about expectations on some of those simple things that create a different experience for the team? So this one, number 2, looks like all kinds of things. So I want you to just get curious about that and where you might be holding some expectations, and be brave enough to ask your leader what expectations they're holding. It's a great question. It's a great opportunity for them to get clear and share it with you. Okay, clear roles. Clear roles is more than sharing the job description. Okay, sharing a job description and hoping we can figure it out is not enough. We need to keep talking with people and from ourselves about, how do I fit in? How do I contribute to the bigger picture? What is my role? How do I fit in? How do I contribute? And keep talking about that. One and done is not going to work in the role clarity. And here's my final one. And I'm going to give my friend Tracy Gibson, who's in the room today, all the credit for this question, because we had a great conversation about her experience of getting clear on what support looked like for her. And it really sparked something in me, Tracy, that we don't ask this, we don't communicate, here's what support looks like. Can you support me in this way? Because this is what support looks like for me. And it got me thinking a lot about the concept of support and how supportive we want to be as team members, as leaders. We really want to be supportive. And we tend to support people in the ways that we like to receive support. For me, support, when I think about support as an employee, I think most of the time it was like, give me the resources and then leave me alone. Like, let me go, let me be autonomous and let me do my thing. And I'll check in when I need something. And so I lead that way. And it's not always supportive. People don't necessarily want autonomy. They might want more connection, more ongoing feedback. So think about this. What does support look like for you? How can you communicate what support looks like? And how can you ask more often the people around you, what does support look like? What do you need from me to feel supported? And you might be pleasantly surprised to learn that there's something different than what you've been doing. Okay, that was a lot. That was a big download of all kinds of clarity. This is, I am working on all of these things. Like, this is such a work in progress for all of us. And I just wanted to spark some thinking in you about particular kind of categories or types of clarity that we can create, and we can sit in these conversations over and over and over again. All right, I want you to, I see the paint done. Let me go back here and layer on, because I love that Victoria brought that in. Paint done is a phrase from Dare to Lead. It's one of Brené's concepts. I was going to say, she has all her great lingo. So paint done is all of this. It's like, paint the picture for people on what done looks like, what success looks like. Just paint the picture. And maybe that's another beautiful way to think about these conversations, is sit with people, paint the picture, and like co-create the picture with them. Let's be willing to ask what people need and co-create the painting, not just download the painting, not just, hand them the painting. So I would like you to just open up the chat right now. One of these, might be all of them, but I would love for you. So this is a question for you as an employee. As an employee, where do you need more clarity? Is it in the goals area? Is it in expectations? Do you need more clarity about your role, or do you need more clarity about support? So just open up the chat. Let's just pick your favorite, drop it into the chat, and then we are going to have some conversations. So goals, Amy, role, expectations, goals, good variety coming up. Goals, yeah. Support, love it. Oh, good variety. Okay. And I'm going to invite you to ask for a meeting, ask for a conversation, to unpack that, to co-create that with your leader, with your supervisor. All right, so I want you to switch the, bye Victoria, thank you, whoops. I want you to have an opportunity to switch. Oh, why don't I, you know what, let me sit here for a minute and ask if there's any questions. I'm going to take down the slides. Let's just sit here for 3 or 4 minutes. I'm curious if there's any questions, or if somebody has a story that relates to any of this, would love to hear it. And then we'll pop you into some conversation spaces. What's coming up for folks? Nicole, come on in.
So I had a question, I put it in the chat, just around the goals, because I've been thinking about this for my team. I just started 7 months ago, and we do annual reviews, and I know it's past the 6-month mark, but I feel like I want to do an interim check-in, just to get a temperature check and get people thinking before the end of the year. So in terms of clear expectations, back to goals, actually, which or how many should be metric based? Because some of our goals in this organization are a bit loosey-goosey. Like, they're the warm and fuzzies, which are great, but in order to track and look back and feel like we've gotten to a point where we're growing and we want to reach our BHAG, how many goals should each person have that they could track with a metric?
I wonder what would feel.
Is there an answer?
Yeah, I don't think there's a magic answer,
right.
Unless someone in the room has a magic answer. I certainly don't. And is it a fundraising environment, Nicole?
It is. It's a dual purpose type of charity. It's complicated.
Yeah, I'm sure it absolutely is. And I think it would be interesting to talk to people about what would work for them and what feels manageable for them, because what feels manageable for you might be actually different than what feels manageable for them in terms of how many and how metriced to be.
Right.
Yeah.
They could be fearful of metrics though, and we can't be. Like, there's sometimes you have to push yourself through your uncomfort zone because you have a job to do and there's an expectation. It's not all about what you want. There has to be a fine balance between what the organization needs and what you're comfortable with. But you have to push through some of that uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
Right? If I need you to make so many calls and you don't like making calls, well, let's figure out what those barriers are, because we need you to be comfortable with those calls.
And there's the expectations right in there.
Mm-hmm.
The expectations is that you will be making calls, and success looks like this. So what does support look like for them to help them get comfortable with making those calls?
Unfortunately, they're trying to sway me into hiring somebody else, and that's not happening.
Clear as kind. In this job you've said yes to, here are the expectations, and how can we co-create a support system to help you live into that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's such a dance, hey? Yeah,
it is. It's delicate.
Yeah, great question. And what a great opportunity for brave, clear, kind leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah, you got this. You got this. All right. Other comments, questions, stories? Rachel, come on in.
So my challenge right now is I currently have an interim boss, an interim CEO, and an interim CFO. And so clarity on goals of any sort is really challenging, especially if you figure in 6, 9, 12, 15, whatever months, that person may have no authority whatsoever. And so not only in decision making, but also long-term strategy. Decisions could be made and that could get thrown out the window really quickly. So how do you put the investment in with the understanding that it may change, so quickly? So it just, there's a lot of instability. And I've actually had conversations with my supervisor, my interim, who's fabulous. And I think she's wonderful and I'm learning so much from her, but it feels unsteady with all the interim positions.
Yeah.
And the challenge is there's literally nothing that anyone can really do about that in the circumstances.
So my encouragement would be, Rachel, where you can get clear for yourself in the areas that you can control, own those areas and clearly communicate, here are the goals we're setting based on what we know in this moment, and just own that clarity and work within it, because living in that ambiguity will impact you, and it'll certainly impact your team. And I'm guessing there are some areas where you could sort of create, I don't want to say put a stake in the ground, but that's what keeps coming to my brain. But just, own that container, say, this is what we can do based on what we know, and we're committed, and go from there. Yeah, because there is no easy answer on that one. It's going to be fluid. Yeah, but own what you can and go from there.
Yep.
Yeah. Great questions, everyone. Okay, let me, this is the fastest hour of the month. It's like time speeds up when we're in the masterclass. Here's what I'd like you to do is, we're going to move you back into breakout rooms. We will be in the breakout rooms for about 8 minutes. Just saying, being clear for Carmen, who I think I'd said 12 minutes. Now we're going to do 8 based on time. Here's where I want you to make a switch now, is because we've been talking about what you need. I want you now to think about what you can do differently as a leader or a colleague, team member, to bring clarity to the table, which might feel like, to Rachel's question, I don't actually have clarity. I don't know how I can bring that. There are areas where you can bring clarity. There's a lot of things you're not in control of. There are a lot of things we all are in control of that we can be clear about. Even if it's my new favorite phrase is ways of working. I was introduced to this concept by an Indigenous coach who shared with us that Indigenous coaching, she's being trained by an Indigenous coaching program. In their practice, they spend 2 hours with new clients talking about ways of working together. So I love that, ways of working, that we could get more clear on the ways of working together. Let's just get clear about that. We can control that, ways of working together. Where do you want to get brave enough to create more clarity in your own work or life? So there's the big question. Where do you need to get brave enough to create more clarity? We've been living in ambiguity and uncertainty for a really long time. What do you need to get more clear on in your work or personal life? So that's like my bonus question for you. All right, Carmen, I'm going to hand the baton to you to open up some great conversations. I'll pop in again, and I hope you have a wonderful time exploring these questions. They're right to the left. Wow, welcome back. You took every second in that breakout room. I love it. Can you open up the chat box, please? I would like to know what action you're committed to taking after this masterclass conversation. What action are you committed to taking? That's my chat question for you. I'm just going to bring up my slides. I want to make sure you know what's coming up and some exciting things going on. So this is what I've shared with you today is just a little piece of this Courageous Coaching for Leaders program that I'm super excited about. It's 9 hours online over 3 Thursday mornings. It's hosted in our learning platform. We've got lots of great articles and resources. I am super committed to bringing coaching and building coaching competence in leaders who are in organizations, not external coaches only. I'm fortunate to do that at Royal Roads. I want to build more leaders who coach. So that's what this program, my new favorite thing, is all about. We will make sure you have a link to that. And if you want to share it with people in your network, we would so appreciate that. And my other encouragement is, if you are feeling like you could use a thinking partner, you're feeling kind of on your own or alone in your role, you would like to have a space to feel supported and get some clarity, then working with a coach is a great way to do that. And I realized over the last few months, I spend a lot of time talking about our programming. I need to start talking more about our coaching team. So this is our amazing team. I feel like we've got diversity in terms of our coaching, our backgrounds, and just want to make sure you know that there are plenty of options within the IRG team. Most of all, I just want to thank you for showing up for yourself today, showing up with one another. Let's go get clarity, and let's go be more clear as we navigate in our organizations. Thank you, everyone. Go have a great day. 9:59, we made it. Woohoo! Take care.